Alrighty. Welcome to Oral Hygiene. It's a podcast where we talk about educational films, experimental films, and weird documentaries. This is Matt. With me today's Andrew Shearer. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I think today's film's like all three of those things.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there goes the blanket over it.
Yeah. So that is Land Without Bread, Louis Buñuel, and then man, I wish I could say the original title. Can you pronounce that? Do you know?
I don't know.
I don't know any French.
Look
So
it up.
yeah.
Wikipedia.
I went to France and tried the pate once. It was terrible.
Oh, thanks.
Have you ever tried pate?
Yeah, didn't enjoy.
No. I was like, oh, we should try new things, and took a bite, and then it was a group of people. It was like a class trip, right? So like nobody try the pate.
Oh, no.
Um, Today's film, I think first, I guess, would you give us the quick sort of breakdown?
Yeah. So The Land Without Bread is Louis Buñuel, and it was, I guess he made it after Andalusian Dogs. It was his most famous movie with Dali. But this was made without Dali. This was made just with a camera and a crew, and they went into the poorest village in Spain. It was on the other side of the mountains, and it was like walking into a time warp. And so the people are just, in the worst state. And it does kind of go along with his overall filmography in that it really does, if you want to look at it as kind of poking at the way that the upper class kind of just turns a blind eye to their fellow human being, or rather, it trivializes the suffering of people, then it fits really right in. But yeah, there's some really horrendous things in this movie.
Right. Okay. Here we go. Sorry. I guess we're at Spanish. It's hard because sometimes his movies are in French and sometimes they're in Spanish, right?
Yeah, well,
So he's
he is,
Spanish. So
Spanish or Spanish and Mexican or
yeah,
Spanish.
because I know he made his 50s and 60s films in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Las Herdes, Tierra Sin Pan.
Yeah, and Las Herdes is the village's name.
Right. So we got that. Of course, listed as a pseudo documentary because I think this is one of the most sarcastic movies I've ever seen. Maybe that's your upper class thing.
I mean, it's that detached kind of manner in which the narration is done that really kind of pushes your point forward.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, it's a whole thing about what media manipulation, because what the narrator is saying doesn't really jive with what you're getting on the screen at all.
No, but do you think though, if it were just a silent film, if you would have gotten what you would have gotten out of it?
Are we going to get the inner title cards to explain things if it's silent?
Well, I mean,
Or
as
is it?
is. Would Buñuel have done that though? That's the thing.
No, I mean, I think the whole point here is the fact that they're lying to you pretty much the entire time.
Yeah, that is.
Because as you listen, they're like, "What is it? All they have to eat are berries, and in May and June, not even that."
Not even that. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. And then it shows them in May and June what they're doing.
In July, they have to walk uphill to school both ways in a blizzard. So that's where, like, to me, this one's just as surreal as any of his other things. It's just a more subtle surrealism.
Yeah, it's the presentation, which is, I mean, if you're a fan of his work and haven't seen this, it'll take you a minute or
I mean,
so, you know.
we get right into it, and they're just like unpromised land, which I said I think maybe that's a Springsteen song. I'm not sure. Oh, was it later on just with all the lying, how they have the she's only 32 years old.
And you're going, who's 32 right here?
Was there
There's
looking at
another one where they're like, the smallest of them is 28 years old, and you're going like, I see no one 28, and then dude pops up behind.
Yeah.
Okay, he's probably 28.
Yeah, I don't know. Was that the real life Chucky dude?
Yes.
But yeah, that's what I thought there. But I guess I haven't been up to this part of Spain. Our equivalent, I've seen some documentaries for some of the Appalachian people. Have you ever
Hmm.
seen any of those?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, those are interesting. There's a bunch of them like made in the 60s and 70s looking at the life of like Appalachian folk, the mountain people.
Hmm.
And they're not as sarcastic, but in a weird way, it's kind of a similar tone. Like, let's go as far backwoods as we can and see what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you watch this and just compare with what was going on in Spain, just over the other side. Then you're like, how can these two things exist, right? But and yet they do, and then you can't help but thinking about poverty in general and how could that exist when there's other people doing so well.
I think there is a controversy. This movie may not be like PETA approved. I think I
Oh
heard
yeah,
of
no, he did
actually
some.
shoving the goats off of a cliff or something.
No, they were shot.
Oh,
That goat
okay.
was shot. Yeah, no. So I thought of Cannibal Holocaust, obviously, when watching this, because for those who've not seen Cannibal Holocaust, it's about the making of a fake documentary, and so it's footage of this documentarian going to observe these cannibal tribes of people, but he totally starts setting up awful things to happen. And so Buñuel, what did he do? He let a donkey be stung to death by bees,
But
and
donkeys and bees don't mix, definitely.
yeah, and that's horrible to watch. And then yeah, there's a scene where there's mountain goats are shown, and then one, he's like, if they get too close, sometimes this happens, and it's weirdly cut. And I'm like, he didn't have two cameras, because you see like the donkey on fall in two different angles, one a wide and one a medium close. So you're going like, how did he do that? It's because they shot the donkey, or they shot the goat, and so
Two goats.
yeah, it falls. But yeah, so that's yeah, I don't think Peter would like that. That's against a lot of rules.
Well, they did not try and put the disclaimer on this one, so at least we got that going for it. So
Yeah. Those two parts in particular, yeah, that's rough stuff.
today though, the I guess the Hernandos are like kind of hipster stylish, right? Is how the people dress for the artisanal bread shops now.
Oh yeah, too, and there they all are. I thought back to another time when you said this girl has been laying here for 3 days.
She's tired.
But there's totally a part where they're all carrying bread around. They're like, because if their parents see them with bread, they'll eat it.
That's pretty hardcore. Yeah. Of course, again, it's just the narrator's telling you this, right? Taking
Yeah.
of that, it's just like kind of like somewhat pastoral visions of a somewhat back in time village. Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a feature length cartoon about the making of this movie.
Oh my.
Yeah, it was put out by G Kids, and it's Buñuel. It's Buñuel and the Valley of the Turtles, or in the Land of the Turtles, something like that. But it's actually a really good movie, and it shows like how he got the money to do it, and it shows the making of it, and then it shows the controversy afterward, with the church and with Spain in general, the government not wanting these images of their country to get out.
Yeah. Well, again, it's not so much the images as what he's saying on top of the images, I think.
Well, yeah,
but yeah, I definitely thought the contrast with even in this tiny horrible village out in the middle of nowhere, they have like a real nice big church. So
yeah, they did. It was very ornate. I'm like, why don't y'all live in the church?
because they got to trap Guanji the dinosaur in there. But yeah, that is these towns in Spain. I've just been to southern Spain, but they do have like the churches in every town like that. So it's I mean, we didn't get into villages quite this tiny, but you got to work for that, right?
Oh yeah, sure. And plus, what hope is there for anyone if the church isn't, really nice?
Yeah. So
That's full of shit. The church ain't nothing.
what is Do you know anything on the like history of the distribution of this film? I remember having it like in the late '90s in a bootleg. What was the film place in Athens? There was the Vision. Then there was the even smaller place that closed even earlier.
Video Library.
Yeah, yeah, that was the one in the Winn Dixie. So I think I probably got it from Video Library and dubbed it.
Yeah, it was usually released with Un Chien Andalou. So you get that and the Land of Bread because Land of Bread is only 27 minutes. Land Without Bread, rather, 27 minutes.
They had a little bit of bread, but yeah.
Yeah. So usually, yeah, they were released together. And so you'd watch one and then the other. So the tape that I rented from Video Library to see this, it was on the Andalusian Dog.
Yeah, I think my DVD of that does not have Land Without Bread because recently I've just if I want to see it, it's on YouTube. So
yeah, this would have been a VHS tape, so I don't know, but it was the famous one that showed the beginning of the eye scene. So you've got the woman with the eye open and the
right.
So
Yeah,
that doesn't happen in Land Without Bread. I'm talking about the other.
I mean, I know that, but yeah,
That would be rough. It's like, okay, just for a cool callback, could you like sit there and here, take this knife?
yeah, it's my director's trademark.
Really, some people have the red balloon. Some people have the guy with the tie and the phone booth. I got the eyeball cutting. So
right. Yeah. Except this time we're doing it for real. No grapes this time.
No grapes this time.
But and then I think the other one, L'Age d'Or, the New Age, is I think a year after this, which is sort of your feature length Un Chien Andalou sort of thing. That one's really the Andalusian Dog's perfectly timed because 15 minutes is about all you need of that shit. I mean, I love that shit. That's like that shit, and it's the sparkling golden shit. But
yeah. So but I feel like they do go together. And I feel like a lot of his other movies go with this as well, including like the last ones that he did. I think they're all kind of addressing a similar thing, but the idea of there being humor in this movie, I mean that it's I don't know. You'd really be asking a lot of yourself to treat this as some kind of bizarre comedy, but it is satire in its way.
I was about to say, to me, this movie's funny as hell, which maybe makes me a terrible person. But
Well, I mean, the way it's presented, it's hard not to be. Like I said, if you were just watching this with no intertitles or anything like that, and no narration, it's atrocity like footage. You know what I mean? It's almost snuff in a way. When it comes
animal snuff.
Well, yeah, and in one part they go, "See this child's teeth? They died."
Yeah. Again, they're just telling you, right? I mean, it's just a shot of a kid.
Yes, I believe you. I don't know.
3 days later, she was dead. Like, I'm pretty sure they're just saying that. So again, like the intertitles in Andalusian Dog. 2 weeks later, and they're just like dead in the sand. That sort of
So
that kind of humor.
I think I read that he first presented it both himself narrating, but it was never shown just completely with no narration, I don't think. But
I guess you're asking what it would be like without that, and I think this one still has narration. But a few years later, there's the film where Eisenstein went to Mexico. For me, maybe that's how this would be in that sort of because that's also in the small villages. But
but I have it in the Eisenstein book. It talks about it.
Yeah, no, I actually have it. It's one of those things I put on actually, like if I'm going to sleep and listen to music. So it's that kind of a movie. But of course, it's that one. Just everything in it looks like a photograph. Where Buñuel has sort of this gritty look here, where it's it is just man on the spot with a camera, right? So
yeah, I mean it is. Yeah, to my knowledge, they had one camera, and this is it has that feel of. I ever see Titicup Follies, the one about the mental institution?
No.
That's you're gonna like that one. I mean, it's really hard to watch though, because it's like this is about all you can take. and but that one goes on and on. But it has that same feel of like there's sort of that journalistic detachment, right? And so the whole time you're watching this, I don't know about you, but I was going like, help them, because you get the sense that they dropped in. This place sucks. Look at it. Peace.
Yeah.
Do you know if they did anything after? I don't have any books on Buñuel.
I guess I feel like it's just dripping with the sarcasm. Yeah, Buñuel. The thing I remember the most actually from Buñuel is not any documentaries or anything. I mean, behind the scenes stuff, but this footage of him like showing you how to make a martini,
Hmm.
which was on one of the Criterion discs. But I actually did make a martini that way for like the 10 years after. So
May have made one for me then.
I did make one for you. It's one of the few drinks I've ever seen you drink.
That's one of the few drink. That's the only mixed drink that I've ever had.
No. And I think that's how I sold it on you. I was like, this is the Buñuel martini. You got to try it.
I was like, I think I was in your apartment and I was just like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, he's not going to ask me to like pound this or keep having them. Just wants me to
line them up like in the Thin Man.
Yeah, no, as I recall, bringing it to my face brought back memories of the alcohol that my mom used to clean her jewelry in at night.
that sounds about like a proper martini. Yeah.
It gave it that smell, like, you know, when you're about to get a shot, like in your arm or something.
Yeah.
That alcohol smell, that heavy alcohol smell when it gets near your nose.
Yeah. Of course, I haven't made that martini for 10 years now. So, but for the 10 years before that, I was making them. So,
yeah. Well, thanks, Buñuel. Look what you have in my life.
Shooting goats and making martinis.
God. Yeah. No, I mean it's hard not to. I mean, I can understand why this movie upset people. I can understand why, but I don't feel like it upset them for the right reasons.
Yeah,
you know.
I just feel it interesting that you and I seem to be watching this one with different eyes, because I just see it as like sarcastic as hell. So
Yeah, I know, and I'm that may well be right.
but
I guess seeing that cartoon kind of tainted it for me a little bit, you know, because I didn't know much about him before I saw the cartoon, and so I just assumed there are noble intentions with something like this.
Well, this is apparently a guy who'd already been chased out of a theater, being pelted with like rocks or something. So,
so it's hard for me to kind of, I don't know. It's hard for me to not view it the way I view any type of thing with, like, you know, showing real death and real poverty and stuff.
Right. Yeah, maybe I'm not looking closely enough, but I kind of wonder. Yeah, the documentary might have done it, but in my mind, they just found a perfectly fine, but technologically backward village and just went wild.
Yeah, and used it to make their own statement.
Right. And of course, knowing Buñuel, that it is an effective statement. Like I guess the statement he's trying to make is the sort of the imperialist, colonialist take on a village, right? Because you could live in a small village and have quite a nice life, but not in the world of this documentary.
Yeah. So let me ask this then. Is this more in line with, like, what would Borat do if he went to Las Verdes?
Well, I think isn't the point that's where Borat's from, but the Kazakhstan version.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It might actually be a fit for Borat. Because Borat needs to be the fish out of water, right? He needs to be in the city and among the rednecks and the city rednecks.
Yeah, it just seemed like the kind of mirror that he was. I mean, it's kind of the reverse of him, maybe. I don't know.
I still haven't seen that newer one, so.
It has its moments.
Okay, it's been a real long time since I saw the first one as well, but.
No, it's not what everybody says it was. I think people just forgot how good that first one was. In some ways, it's wider in scope, but there's definitely some really funny stuff. Like,
right.
It's good, but it also addresses the fact that he plays Borat in the street and people are asking him for his autograph. He's fooling no one.
Well, the whole thing after that first movie is, he was like, I can't make a sequel because everyone knows who I am now, and the whole shtick is being able to show up unannounced and unrecognized. So
Yeah, so for the most part in it, he plays a guy in a disguise. He's playing a different character.
yeah, I
But he's
mean that
Borat, the guy.
because he was Ali G before that. That wasn't that the whole point of Borat, to get a new identity to go and meld with the masses in.
Yeah, yeah. And so here he has to be Borat wearing a costume.
Yeah.
So he's a guy, he's an actor pretending to be a guy who's pretending to, he's playing a role of someone who's pretending to be people. It's great.
Yeah, and that's Buñuel to Borat today. Okay, that's cool.
I mean, I don't see a whole lot of I really almost the way we're talking about it. I mean, if it is kind of the satire or using people for real people and places for the purposes of satire, it almost seems like a reverse.
Yeah, they're kind of both shock jocking, I guess, in different eras of time. So
Yeah.
let's say it's like kind of subtle. Well, it's subtle because it's a movie from 1932, and if it were made today, one, there'd be a whole lot more shit about the goats, and two, there'd probably be a few more camera tricks and things going on too. So
Yeah, but as it is, I mean, what an experience. I don't know if I could watch a feature version of it. It's
oh no, it doesn't need to be any longer than this.
yeah, no, I think it did what it was supposed to do when I saw it. It did what it's supposed to do. I mean, I really, just as much as I remember that eye from Andalusian Dog, I remember that the donkey getting stung. That shot of its eye with all the bees around it.
Oh,
It's
right,
just-
right.
it's
Yeah,
really-
I think I flushed that one out of my memory. So, but of course you're mentioning. I'm like, yes, of course. But it's
Yeah.
not the first one I think of for this, which is probably good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Angel of Death at the end. Good beat to put your fin on. Finet. No, it's not Finet. It's just Fin. Yeah, it's just a fin.
Yeah, an old woman who's likely 31.
Yeah.
Whatever they say. Yeah, she's talking about death, and you've got she's got this black cloak on or whatever. And God, there's times when you just think he had to have told them to do this or something. I mean, on the one hand, you're going like, if they don't know, they don't know what cameras are, they don't know what a movie is, then I don't know. There's a lot of question marks. But she certainly that ending, yeah.
Well, I guess we'll wrap it up on this one. You want to give them your Instagram or your Twitter somethings?
Yeah, folks. Thanks for having me on the show. Gonzorific, GONZORIFFIC. That's on Instagram. That's on Twitter. That's on FaceSpace. And there's also a gonzorific.com where you can buy movies that me and my friends made here in Athens, Georgia.
You're so pretty with your spelling there.
I try to do all right when I can, what I do.
Yeah, because spitting out, this is Oral Hygiene Pod at Twitter, Facebook. That's pretty much where I've been keeping it these days. And I talk sci-fi movies at MLSFS Pod. Man, I almost got it through without except that final S. Okay, that's Twitter, Facebook, whatever. That's Matt and Luke Sci-Fi Sanctuary. So, when you can take a trip, go and see those back mountain villages. I guess you can do that in Georgia.
Make a martini for that donkey, man.
Yeah, that's probably a better idea. Word.